Fuck. Neurotics.
Hello, my fellow Neurotics. This is Hal. I am extremely excited to be back, and and today is a very wonderful, amazing episode. A lot of stuff has happened. As I mentioned last week, my car went to the highway in the sky, and out of the ashes of that, a phoenix rose, and it is a 2012 Honda Accord. Now, some of you might be like, 2012, what the fuck? That's not great. And the mileage is pretty high. But here's the thing. As always, there's a thing. My first car, when I, 1998 to 1998 to 2001, my car was a 1986 1986 Honda Accord. It was pretty much built up from the ground up for me by a very good friend of mine, and we did an extended test drive on a Hyundai Veloster at another dealership. And what that entails is basically the dealership lets me take the car home for a weekend. So I had it from I think Friday until brought it back on Monday. And it was a great car. Liked it a lot. But that being said, we felt like we were being pressured. And when that happens, you kind of have to ask yourself, why are they pressuring us to get the car off the lot so fast? I mean, is there something wrong with it? And the fact that we really need to do a little bit more shopping. You don't want to go just buy the first car you see on the lot because you're just like, oh, it's different than the one I had before. It is a much higher step up than the shitbox I've been driving for the last 4 years or so. So that being said, we took the Veloster back. Veloster, I keep calling it Veloster like it's like a dinosaur that's going to eat me or something. But anyway, so on Monday we go to the Honda dealership, and they had a 2012 Honda Accord, and I knew it. I knew it in my bones. I just knew it. That was my car. That's the car that was going to be mine. Okay? It's great. It doesn't have four-wheel drive, which is kind of a downer because I really love the four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it, because it kind of cuts through the snow like the butter. And hello, fucking Minnesota here, so we ended up getting that. It was a hellish experience. The guy who sold it to us was a nice guy. Not sure if he was new or if he just I don't know. He seemed like he didn't have everything. Let's just say he didn't seem like the most disorganized chap. But anyway, it all came through. I got the car. I brought the car home on Wednesday night. So that was exciting. So I have my car. It's outside. It's got snow on it because, again, hello, fucking Minnesota. And that brings me, again, to Minnesota. Holy fucking shit. It was like negative 50 degrees. How is that possible? I felt like Robert Patrick in Terminator 2, where he gets covered in the the liquid nitrogen, it was just like you're out there for 2 minutes and you're frozen solid. I'm shocked my dick didn't fucking freeze and break off. I'm married, so I'm kind of still surprised that hasn't happened already. Anyway, but that's a joke. I love you, honey. I love you. Yeah, so I got a new car, so that's good. I mean, it's not new, but it's new to me, so that's what counts, and I love it. It's got this amazing feature that I love. It's got several. One, it's got the leather seats. It's got heated seats. It has this really cool thing, like where it has like lumbar support, where you press this button and it feels like the seat is like coming out at and like gently nuzzling against your back. Again, this might be called the awesome episode. I don't know, but I'm really excited, and God damn, it's cold out there. I can't. It's unfathomable to me that anywhere could get this cold. I mean, it's not like it's not like I didn't know what I was getting into when I moved to Minnesota. Like, I knew that it was going to be cold, but this was just like, they were like, it was like a sci-fi movie. They were like saying, like, giving us all these different instructions to make sure your house didn't explode, like, because it was so cold. Like, make sure all your cabinets are open. Make sure, this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is serious. This is really serious. Oh my God, we could die. I mean, we live in a 102-year-old house. I mean, that's not a good thing. Maybe we should have reconsidered our options when we got it, But anyway, we made it. This weekend, supposedly, it's supposed to be 40 degrees. I'm really excited. I'm very, very, I'm really hoping I get to drive my car to the cities. We have a bat mitzvah to go to for my wife's goddaughter, and mazel tov to her, Abby. But that same regard, like, I'm just really excited. I have a car that I don't feel like it's taking me hostage anymore. Like, every time, I swear to God, every time for years, the last 6-7 years or so, my car has done this thing where, like, every time tax time rolls around, or like when I get my yearly bonus, my car decides, I think it's time to break down a little bit and do something that's going to cause you to use all of your money and fix me. So that feeling has gone away. That like tense, like, what's gonna happen now is no longer there. So that's great. But I just it's good. It's good. I'm gonna, and it was bittersweet. And on top of that, I did the whole roadside assistance thing through the monolith, and I'm gonna be honest, wasn't a fan. I think I'm probably gonna cancel it. And this is, I'm not trying to bash the monolith. I love where I work from. Please don't fire me, as my go-to saying is. But seriously, like, I call in the morning to the roadside assistance, and the guy's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. It's too cold out. Nah, need a flatbed. Nah, I'm not doing it. Yeah, bleh, eh." I mean, that's pretty much exactly what it sounded. I mean, like, he was a complete fucking douchebag. Anyway, so my wife does it. She uses the app, which is probably the smarter way to go, so you don't have to deal with people, because me and people. Not a fan of people. Not a fan of people. And, like, nice as can be, they're like, "Yeah, we'll come pick up your vehicle. It's gonna take a while because there are a lot of people that need their car towed. So they had to get because I had to get my car, my Subaru, towed to the dealership. And so the tower. I'm going to try not to be melodramatic, because my wife says I'm too melodramatic. I don't want to say crashed, but he backed into my rear taillight, my passenger rear taillight. And it could be because there was so much snow on it that we couldn't open up the trunk. But it was the rear taillight was cracked in such a way that you couldn't open up the trunk, because there was something that was holding the trunk closed because of the way it was crashed into. The metal was like holding the trunk down. So I am later today probably going to go back to the dealership and see if I can go in through the back seat and get whatever accoutrement I need removed from the trunk, because, yeah, I mean, I mean, Lord knows we need more disposable bags for Sam's Club. I mean, that's priceless stuff. So, but there were also some books in there that probably need to get taken out. I don't know why. Like, even if they're books I don't want to read, like the idea of like people just tossing books into the trash just doesn't sit right with me, So, anyway. But so yeah, this is I'm very excited, and what I'm even more excited about is that we have, for the first time in probably what seems like 2 to 3 weeks, is a guest today, and he's an amazing guy. He's wonderful. His name is Richard Pepper. I met him in recovery. We used to work at the Monolith together, and he's a recovering addict, just like myself. And he is part of the LGBTQ world, just like me. And we've been through a lot together, I feel like. And like, we just he went from rags to riches, in the sense that, like, he went from the bottom of the barrel to the top. And now he's a substance abuse counselor. He's awesome. He's just an amazing guy, very direct. So there are going to probably be things where he's either going to like laugh at me like I'm an idiot, or he's going to just tell me like it is. But he's the nicest guy in the world. I'm very, very pleased to have him on the show today. I've known him for almost 6 years, since I started at the Monolith. And I'm just very excited to have him on here. We've been planning this for a few weeks, and said he was honored to be on the show, which makes me feel, strokes my ego as always, and can't get enough ego stroking. Anywho, in just a few moments, I will bring out my guest, Richard Pepper. Richard Pepper, hi. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How about you?
Not too bad. So what's going on, man?
Just getting ready to head out of town to go visit my parents back in South Dakota.
Yeah, how's it going with the parents? How are they doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like your mom's the nice one. Well, they're I'm sure they're good, but they're all good people.
Yeah.
But your mom seems to be the sweet person, and your dad's kind of like, or is it? Am I wrong? It's been a long time.
He's mellowed in his older age.
He's mellowed. Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. I guess after a certain point, see, my dad hasn't mellowed. He's just become more cranky and cynical and hates people more. Like, and I think I'm going in that direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I used to be like this goody two shoes, like way back in the day, and now I'm just like, I just don't want to have to deal with people. Which is weird, podcast, interviewing. Yeah. So, but, what are you going to do, right? They're everywhere. People are everywhere. There's just no getting around it.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's been a really long time since I think I've considered myself a goody two shoes, but anyway.
The last time I was a goody two shoes was probably my senior year in college, and that was back in 2003 or something like that. Yeah. So, not a lot of people. I like I said, when I was talking to you earlier, I haven't talked a lot about your history, your past, but I mean, I just remember, and this is probably breaking a little bit of anonymity,
okay.
But we were at a meeting, and you came in, and you were with another person who was also in recovery. I think his name was Carl. We won't. Obviously, we don't mention last names here other than yours, because your anonymity is so important. But I mean, I just remember you came in. I think you were just kind of in the middle of treatment, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I was.
Yeah.
Still kind of in the beginning stages of it.
Yeah, and I mean, and I just remember when I was first started in the whole recovery process, I was just kind of like, why is this happening to me? How did my life just completely implode on me? I mean,
Right.
I'm assuming at some point you had sort of like a certain like, how did the shit hit the fan so quickly? So,
Oh
did
no,
it
I
happen
was
gradually?
well aware of
You
why
were
the
well
shit
aware
hit
of
the
it.
fan.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
There was, yeah. You don't really get a very good life from being an IV drug user.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, it's there was no surprises there.
Yeah, I was never. I was on certainly no saint, but I mean, I was never an IV drug user. I remember I had an opportunity. It sounds like it was like a job fair. I had an opportunity to do this.
Went to the interview. They called me back and said, "Oh, we found somebody else.
We
that
found
better
somebody
fits our
else that
needs."
wants to stick a needle in their arm.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you in mind for later
Right.
needles.
Yeah.
So I remember my buddy Kevin. We went to his place and he was like we were driving. He got fired from his job and he was like, hey, he got a call from his connection or buddy or whatever, and he was like, hey, you want to do some heroin? And I was like, sure, I guess. I mean, at this point, why not? I mean, we're knee deep in it.
Right.
So we go to this guy's place, and like he uses a needle, and he says, "Hey, here, you want to try it?" And I was like, "No, really?" And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come on, it's just me. You can just use. We'll just use the same needle. You know who I am, you know." And I was like,
Oh God.
I am not gonna use a needle that went not happening at all.
Yeah, especially your first time out. Like.
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't end up doing it, and
Good for
it was
you.
probably I had certain standards. like I was when I was early in addiction, well, not early, mid addiction. I was just like, as long as I don't sell my drugs, I'm not a drug dealer. I'll just let people use them, like just willy nilly without selling them. Because the moment there's a transaction, I'm a drug dealer, and I just can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't be that guy. I can't be that person.
Yeah.
So.
So you didn't get caught up with the glamour of being a drug dealer.
No. I mean, I think maybe one time, and it was probably because I was so stoned, I just didn't even have any idea what was.
Yeah.
I was like a Raggedy Andy doll, like, and they were like, here's some money, and like I was like, oh.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so you came to SMRC, we met, and somehow or another we found out that we worked for the Monolith, the place that we worked for, which is you know,
Who shall not be named.
Exactly. And I was like, I should get to know him more, because like I have no idea what I'm doing at this job. Like, you know, and I think at some point you asked me to be your sponsor, which is probably a terrible idea.
I think actually you asked me. You said, "Do you have a sponsor?"
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was so new at that point. I was like, I don't know what it is.
You were ready to go for the bottom of the barrel.
My counselor tells me that I have to go to meetings and get a sponsor. So sure, yeah.
Yeah,
let's do
sure.
this.
I know. I was, and like, you know, it probably seemed like a decent idea at the time, but I don't know. I've come to learn, Richard, that I'm not sponsor material. I'm just like I'm way too self-involved, and like I know that's terrible, you know, like, but I mean, I guess it is a selfish program, as they say.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like I feel like my life is so fucked up and screwed up as it is, and I've got so much shit that swirls around my head and the hamster wheel that is my brain, that it's just like I just don't have any space for anybody else. So if I ever did you a disservice, you know, by not just being a shitty sponsor, my apologies.
No, not. I never got that impression at all. I think that was the kind of sponsorship that I needed at that point in time in my recovery.
So the shitty kind.
Kind of sponsor light.
Sponsor like, yes.
Yeah.
should be more like sponsor light.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like diet sponsor.
Right, there you go.
Less sugar, more anyway, more flavor. But yeah, I mean, but you, I mean, what would you say? I mean, as far as, I mean, you did. I know you. I mean, obviously it's not like a competition, but I mean, you were pretty heavily into methamphetamines, right? And you were, among other things, you know. I don't know the whole extent. I just know that you were into that, and that you were very much into the party scene, weren't you?
Oh
yeah. And see, again, my hatred of people prevented me from. I like my neighbors. My neighbors were okay when I was in active addiction. That was about as. I was just never into the whole party thing, like, because I just. But yeah, I mean, I just, yeah. But you were into the party scene, and and at a certain point, things obviously took a turn because you are. Is it okay? I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
You are HIV positive.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm very limited. I mean, I obviously know what I've seen in, you know, TV shows and, you know, media and stuff like that. But I mean, do you have to take a lot of medications for this?
I take one pill once a day.
One pill once a day.
I mean, other than my cholesterol, because you know,
right. That's like less pills than I take. Like every Saturday, and I've talked about this in my other episodes. Like my wife and I every Saturday we have like 10 to 20 pills that I put in like each slot. So you're actually doing way better than me as far as the pill situation goes. Right. But I mean, was it at that point that you decided to get clean, or I mean, was there still a long journey ahead?
Actually, it was. My drug use started really heavy after I found out I was HIV positive.
Was it like a depression type thing?
It was screw it, my life's over anyway. Let's just hit the fast forward button. Yeah. Which becoming an IV meth user is a great way to hit the fast forward button and really screw up your life. So, yeah, and with me laughing or joking about it, it's not that I think that it's funny. It's just
it's your life, man.
It's kind of like when you almost get into a car wreck and die, and then you laugh because you're happy because you're not dead.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of like I totally get it. Yeah, it's like almost like an adrenaline kind of like euphoric rush. Like
right.
Yeah, I get it. I'm picking up what you're laying down. Yeah, I you know, everybody knows my story. I've said it a gazillion times. That I mean, mine basically was just like my wife. You know, I was married at the time. My wife basically was like divorce or rehab. That was it. And I was like, all right. Well, I don't want to get divorced because, you know, like I've got, you know, I don't have to do this all over again. Like I'm already married. Like, I mean, we might as well just stay together at this point. So I'm not going to do the work to find somebody else.
There you go.
You know, like I don't want to have to go audition or again go back do the whole callback thing. You know, it's like that's what dating for me was. It was basically a series of callbacks. Like, oh my god, I got the part, like temporarily. But you know, I was just gonna say. I mean, when you found out that you were positive, I mean, what went through your mind? I've never had that experience. I've gotten bad news from doctors before, but that's obviously that's a game changer, obviously for life.
So I found out I was positive at Gay Pride up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Red Door Clinic had a tent set up, so
wow.
You know, it was in the middle of this huge celebration and everything, and I go in to get tested, and at that point I was pretty sure that I was positive.
Okay.
But being pretty sure and then finding out for sure,
that's
completely different world.
Different ball game, yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and the guy, they did the 20-minute fast test, I guess, at the time. And then he came back and he goes, so your test was reactive. And I was just like, oh. So then, like, I knew what that meant, but he explained it anyway. And so I was just like, okay. And I went in prepared because I had this like 32-ounce styrofoam cup with ice and gin, and no mixer. So I was ready for my coping mechanism, such as it was at the time.
You were buzzed.
And so he tells me, and then I was like, okay, all right. And he kind of looks at me, and apparently I started looking like a ghost or something. And he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And so then they had like a fainting area, basically, is what it was. And so sat me in this chair and kicked my feet up. And then he go, "Can I get you something to drink?" And so this was like where I was trying to just escape the reality of it. And
the
so
5 stages
yeah,
of like
so
grief in like 1 hour.
right. And so what I focused on, just the stupidest, minutest detail, and I still remember this, and it's been almost 13 years now. But I said, "Yeah, he asked me if I wanted some juice, and I said, "Yeah, can I get some orange juice?" And he came back and goes, "We don't have orange juice." And I was like, you don't have orange juice." And
that's was the breaking point.
Yes, that was just like, fine, I'll just have apple juice then. God. And so it was that moment, that's what I focused on. I still remember that today. That was my reaction.
The juice situation.
Yeah, I mean, God, if you're gonna tell somebody they're HIV positive, at least have some OJ available.
I was gonna say, at first I thought you said Jews, and I'm like, I'm sure there are plenty. There could have. I mean, there are plenty of gay Jews around. They could have
Bring me a Jew.
Bring the Jews. Let my people come. Just kidding.
The orange Jews. The ones that get fake spray tans.
So, right, exactly. So, man, yeah, what's really, all right, so this is terrible, but like I remember, like, because obviously I am bisexual, right? Mm-hmm. But I never really done anything. I'd made out with men before,
okay.
But I'd never had sex or anything like I'd never had anything that would really could infect me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember I went to Pride, my very first Pride, and we took my buddy and I took an HIV, a test, and I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what if I got, and I'm like, wait a second. I don't think that's, I've never done a needle. I've never used it. I've never had sex with another man. Mm-hmm. It's been basically, heavy petting, that kind of thing. So I think I'm okay, but there is still that, I think, and maybe that's the case for every person who takes a test like that. Like, I just remember, I was freaking out, oh my God, what if it's positive? Oh my God. I there's absolutely zero way that it could be possible, but what if it is, and it wasn't, and I did continued going down the fucking shit tunnel that I was going down. But yeah, no, I was very, very ignorant about and I just remember the AIDS boom back in the 80s and when during Reagan and George Senior, but not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Yeah,
not at this juncture.
Yeah, wouldn't be prudent. And I remember I was doing a lot of stuff with kids my own age, because and I think that's pretty natural. Like when you're young, you don't know what you just want to see what everybody else's equipment is basically like. You know what I mean?
I never had that experience. I was always so scared that somebody would find out. So even in junior high or whatever, when I was in the locker room, it's just it was a speed changing contest
really?
For me. I didn't look around the locker room and be like, hey. Yeah. It was just eyes down.
Well, what's funny, and that's the thing, it's what's weird is that I was not. I was just I was totally all about, whatever. I loved having sleepovers with my friends, well, a friend, and I won't mention their name because they're in a relationship, and I don't want to ruin their life. But
spiritual principles anyway.
Exactly, but here, and I've talked about this before. I don't know if they blacked it out or if they just, it's just not, they don't remember it. But I mean, I remember every single thing of it,
right.
and eventually it came out, and it was just kids just kind of experimenting, you know what I mean? At the time, but I knew that something was different, you know what I mean? And I just remember I finally told my mom and dad about it, and my dad was like, hell, you could get AIDS from that. And I'm like, oh great, now I'm getting AIDS. I'm like 9 years old. I'm like, oh great,
geez.
now I'm gonna get AIDS. Great, thanks, Dad. Now you made me, like, because when your parents tell you stuff, I mean, you intrinsically trust.
Parents know everything.
Exactly, parents know everything. So like, and at that point, I think it was still considered like the gay cancer. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So like, and you're a little older than me, so I mean, it's.
Thanks for that.
Well, you are. I mean, it's like
facts are facts.
At this point, Richard, I think our ages are the least of.
True story. True enough.
So, but no, like I just remember like I was in the pool and I was like with this person and like we were humping, I guess, like I said, we were just, again, kids. What I thought was like just kind of, whatever, I didn't, kids, I don't think you really, at least for me, I didn't really think of it as anything like that I was doing was wrong. It was definitely secretive, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, it wasn't like I wasn't ashamed of it. And I remember I told my mom, and my mom like just freaked out, and like we're driving away from Cub Foods, and like, because we had just gone grocery shopping, and my mom was like, Mark, your son has been, she goes, be ready to stop the car and brake really quickly. And like, she tells my dad like that I've been humping some friend of mine, and like he just hits the brakes and he goes, Hal, you could get AIDS. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was just like, oh my God. But this is the same thing. Like, my parents are the same people who thought like when I lost my car, my keys, like when I had a drunken blackout the next morning, that like they were I'm gonna take a sip of water.
Sure.
My mom thought that somebody would find my keys, my apartment keys, test every single mailbox in the apartment, in my building when I was like I think I was like 25 or 26, and then they'd find my name on the mailbox, look it up in the phone book, find their name. And my dad used to go out of town, and she goes, they're gonna find me, and they're gonna your dad's gonna be out of town, and they're gonna kill the dogs, and they're gonna kill me.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's my mom. Like, my mom, like,
wow.
Just like absolutely worst case scenario. And I'm just like, Mom, that seems kind of far-fetched.
Just a little.
Just a little. Like, my mom is like my original sponsor, and he's still my sponsor, if we're going by official sponsorship. He describes my mom as, quote unquote, an excitable woman.
Oh, okay.
And that could mean many different things, but but I'm pretty sure he means that she's just a loony sometimes. And like, I actually had a customer, a friend of mine, send me a message yesterday saying, like, he goes, "Does your mom listen to your podcast?" And I was like, "No." I was like, they don't. She doesn't. And he goes, "Well, what if she listens and there's like a rant about her?" And I'm like, I said, if I didn't rant about my mother on my podcast, there would be no podcast. Like, that is like the raison d'etre of my podcast. There should be a drinking game every time I say raison d'etre on this show. Somebody takes a swigger, I get $1 for every time I say it. Be rich. At least $30. I think you're my 40th episode.
Really?
Yeah, you are officially the 40th episode of Neurotics. Hey.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see how it turns out.
Today is my 69th month clean.
Is that right?
Yeah. Not that I count it by months anymore, but it popped up on my phone with this app
That's
that I
pretty
have.
cool.
I was
like, how many? That's how many years? I'm terrible.
It's coming up on 6 years. Yeah, wait, 6 years. It'll be 6 years May 1st.
Dude, mazel tov. That's awesome. That is so cool. Like, and like, so getting back to we meet at SMRC, and you asked me. I asked you. I forget what I already.
You asked me if I had a sponsor.
Yeah. I
was like, no, and you're like, do you want one?
There we go.
Okay.
We rewound it and had a anyway.
If I could turn back down. Oh.
And
sorry, Cher.
That was Which that is probably the worst Cher impression. If I could turn back time, if I could find the way.
Ooh, rock it out.
Yeah, I know,
like
right?
it. Very nice.
I've got a falsetto. So all right. So I came up and said, "Do you need a sponsor?" And you were like, "Yeah." And we did the thing for a bit, and it didn't end up working out, which is fine, like I said, because at a certain point you needed a better sponsor than me. And then what was really funny is that a few years later, what happens? I asked you to be my sponsor,
Right.
which.
Yeah.
Sorry, by the way, just so we're clear, I do have another sponsor.
Yeah, I gathered.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you do have another sponsor, because...
Yeah, well, you're a busy guy, and honestly, I'm terrible at... Not only am I terrible at being a sponsor, I'm terrible at being a sponsee, so...
Oh, If my sponsor's listening, he could probably tell you that I'm a horrible sponsee.
I don't think there's such thing as a really good sponsor. I think maybe in the beginning there are good sponsees, and then after a certain point, if you're really serious about the program and you start doing what you're supposed to be doing, it becomes more of a like PRN type thing is needed. You know what I mean? And I wrote on my my Neurotics page on Facebook, if anybody needs any, wants to talk about recovery or blah, 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 please contact me. And my wife is just like, Hal, you barely go to meetings. You barely talk to your sponsor. Why are you offering help to people? And I'm just like, because it's important. And she's like, all right.
There you go.
So, but now I just, it's just one of those things where like, I have a sponsor and I kind of recently developed sort of like a life coach, and I won't name names, but like he doesn't like to be called sponsor. I call him sensei now,
Okay.
So, because I just figure I need something, I need a label, some sort of a label just to be able to be like, that's my guy, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I mean, it is what it is, and they're really cool, and I connected with them very, very well. But yeah, I mean, so are you put yourself through school, right?
Yeah.
And now you're a substance abuse counselor,
Correct. Licensed alcohol and drug counselor.
Oh my gosh! So are you practicing now, or?
Yeah. Yep. I've been working in that capacity since I was hired in June, and then I think my license went through sometime in July.
Wow.
Yeah, it was July.
That is so fucking cool, dude.
Yeah.
Like I can't. I mean, I just again, I'm gobstruck. Like this is amazing. Like I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thank you.
Like because like I said, like like and I know that sometimes people take that as like sounding really condescending, but like I completely am like, holy shit, dude, that's amazing. I mean, you like, what am I doing with my life? I'm still working for the monolith. I should stop just one day eventually it'll probably just come out and I'll be like, shit, I have to edit that out. But anyway. But yeah,
Make sure your resume is updated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, really. I mean, but I work from home now because
it's got to be a lot less stressful. Well, maybe
it is. I mean, my anxiety level. I mean, I still have to take. To be at the total disclosure, I do still have to take benzos. For my anxiety.
Okay.
I take them as prescribed.
Good.
Very very. I'm extremely deliberate about about when I take them and how often I take them. Sometimes I won't take, if I don't feel like I need them that day, I don't take them that day, you know what I mean? But like, I will say this, it's awesome working at home. It's great. The problem is like, when you work at home, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, and maybe you've heard the episodes where I've talked about it, but it's like, there's just no division, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you basically are like, you're doing your job, and then your job is over, and then you're just like, I guess I'll just go make dinner now, or start prepping dinner and stuff. You go downstairs, and I'm still in I'll still be in my bathrobe and my Big Lebowski like clothing, sweatpants and like, Hanukkah sweater or something like that, and I'm just like, I just look like a complete schlub. I was asking my Amanda last night. I was like, "Do you think I should shave?" And she's like, "We have it's my wife's goddaughter's bat mitzvah tomorrow, and so there's a dinner tonight." And I was like, so like, I've gone like I've gone weeks without coming out of the house like that. So that's one bad thing about working from home is because you sort of get into this groove where you're just like, I don't really want to go. Especially when it's winter. Like if I think if the weather was nicer, I'd be more apt to go outside. But like when the weather's just as cold as it was, I mean, holy fuck, man, it was like negative 50 degrees.
It was insane.
So do you still live at the same place that we were living at before? Because you were living at a floor. You ended up moving into an apartment a floor above where we used to live.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, if you ever talk to the landlady, tell her I said to go fuck herself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just
right.
for the record.
I've kind of not practiced some spiritual principles in conversations with her already.
Oh, so, really?
My downstairs neighbor complains, saying that I stomp and pound on the floor all the time.
I think you and I talked about that at some point.
I've ranted about it on Facebook several times and said I'm going to take up like Irish clog dancing or something. But so far I haven't.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just like, what are you... So, I don't know, it's been probably 2-3 weeks ago I got another notice, and you had a noise complaint about walking around late at night, and I'm like, I still haven't mastered levitation, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Maybe you could try like river dance.
Yeah.
At least you're like in one spot and you can just kind of concentrate in like that one specific area.
Right. Stomp a hole through the floor in that area.
Exactly, yeah. I remember like when we were living there, we had a bunch of college kids above us, and like Amanda, like you know me, I'm terrible at confrontation, but like eventually I had to like Amanda was like, you go up there, and I'm like, I go up there, like it was like late at night and they're partying, and I'm like, knock knock knock, and I'm like, you guys need to like lower the volume and like quiet down, and they're like, yeah, okay, sure. And then Amanda goes up and she's just like, I'm gonna fucking call the police. Like, because Amanda's like one of those people, like, she needs her sleep. Like, she like when it's time for her to go to sleep, it's time for me to go to sleep. Like, I guess I could like, hang out on the futon and stuff like that, but like apparently I wake her up if I get into bed, and I'm just like, okay. Whereas with me, like, there, like, a branch could go through our window, and like I'd probably be like, yeah. So, but as far as recovery goes, I mean, what would you say the best thing about recovery has been? I mean, obviously you've gotten a lot of mileage out of it. As far as you've come so far. But I mean,
for sure.
What would you say? For me, I've always said that the greatest gift recovery has been is, I'm still pretty jaded, but like, is that I still have the ability. It gave me back the ability to be surprised at what some of the things that life offers me. You know what I mean? Like, it gave me that ability to be surprised at myself and life. What would you say as far as recovery goes? What do you think has been the greatest thing that's given you?
Sure. I think the greatest thing is being able to reconnect with my family, and especially my dad. Yeah. During treatment, we had a family session.
I remember that. And
that was brutal. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done in recovery, but it was it was the most impactful thing that happened to me. My dad and I got to talk through some things. I realized that I was holding on to resentments I didn't even know I was holding on to.
Oh, sure.
And it was a sob fest.
Really?
God.
Maybe I should go back to recovery. There's so many resentments, Richard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to talk through that, and it was an amazing experience. And, before that, I talked to my mom quite often on the phone, except when I was getting high for days on end. But rarely did I talk to my dad. But now I talk to my dad pretty much every day.
That's awesome.
And my mom too, of course, because I'm a
Yeah.
mama's boy. But it's been amazing being able to reconnect with my family on that level.
Yeah, it's weird. My family's still. It's weird that you should say that because my family, I think, still is in that. They know I'm doing really well in recovery, but yet it's one of those things they kind of like to sweep underneath the rug, you know, like as if it like they, you know, like it doesn't exist. Like I'll be like, hey, I've got like X amount of years today, and they'll be like, oh, that's wonderful.
Oh wow, that's
topic moving on.
Yeah,
you know, and like, I mean, they just, and you know, she still doesn't like. She listened to an episode. My mom happened to listen to an episode. Thank God it wasn't one of where I ranted about her, but. You know, where she was like, I just wish I could have done something. It makes me sick that you were so, you know, doing all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. I don't understand. I'm like, and I'm still to this day, I'm like, Mom, I don't understand why I'm an addict. It just, it is what it is. I mean, it's just like, to a certain extent, it's almost the whole, you know, being gay or bisexual. It's like, I don't know why. It just is what it is. And it's like that line from Brokeback Mountain. You either have to learn, you can either, if you can't fix it, you got to learn to stand it. You know what I mean? You know, and it's just the way with being an addict. I don't question it. I just know that that's what I am, and that's what I need to. And I just have to constantly remind myself that I'm different from other people, from normies. You know, like, and the last few months or last few weeks, I've actually considered about like relapsing, like because we had. Yeah, I should have called you.
I definitely
made an appointment or something like that. Well, we had all these puppies, right?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I saw the puppies.
Yeah, and like you know, it was just like having children and then just having them ripped away again. You know what I mean? It was very traumatic, and like I tried not to invest my heart into it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like you know, when you've got all these little things that are you know needing your love and just you know. Being there for them and giving them attention, like they become like your children, and like after a certain point, like when I remember one of them that I just really loved, I was just like I knew that the person was coming over to adopt him, and I just had it swaddled and I was holding it and singing to it, and like I was just like, and then I just started sobbing, and like and it just happened so fast that like the guy just came over, my wife just kind of. I mean, she's the more level-headed person, but it took a toll on her too. But she kind of took him from my arms and handed it to him, the dog to him, and I was just like, Meatlog. That was his name. Anyway, but yeah, it's. I mean, here's the thing. I say I was thinking about relapse, but I think I've gotten to that point where like, if I haven't done it yet, I don't see it happening. I mean, I guess at any time, one day at a time.
Yeah.
One day at a time. You know, like, and that's how I always end this show, one day at a time. You know, but like.
Oh, that saying used to piss me off. One day at a time. Really? Is there another option?
I need to find.
Can I take 7 days at a time? Can I make this process go a little faster?
Yeah, like and I'm wondering if maybe like after a certain amount of time, I might just change it up, and not say one day at a time because I always make sure I incorporate one day at a time at the end of every single episode. And I'm like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, how do I incorporate that into this? Like there's an episode I was talking about poop, about women pooping and stuff like that, and I didn't believe that women poop, and I said that yes, women poop one day at a time, and I'm like, that's kind of a reach. that was kind of like I really had to kind of really go, pull some strings to figure that one out. But yeah. So, are you in a relationship now?
No, I don't really want to be in a relationship. I'm
Smart move.
I don't. Hope your wife doesn't listen to this.
Oh, she refuses to listen.
Oh, okay.
She just thinks it's complete like mental masturbation and possibly verbal masturbation too. Yeah, but I mean, she'll listen to an episode if like I force feed it down her throat. Like if she knows that she's not gonna have to listen to it, it's just background noise. But yeah, she doesn't listen to it, and she knows that I like the last episode I did. I was talking about my gender dysphoria that I've been going through lately, and like like somebody, and I was thinking, no, but she'll never know what I'm talking about. And then like a friend of hers happened to be listening to the episode, and she goes, "Whoa, heavy stuff." And did you listen to the episode, The Storm? And my wife looks at me and she goes, "Tell me about the storm." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, I shouldn't have put that one out there." You know, that was my thought, was like yeah. Well, I talked about what you and I've been talking about, and these things, some people, don't think pansexuality is a real thing, and it's like, the way I see it is like, who's to say that something isn't a real thing? If it's real to you, then it's real to you. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
Gender dysphoria. You may not understand it, but it's a real thing. I mean, it's an absolutely real thing. And she, like, my wife has this whole like, that's just a new agey term for blah blah blah. Like, and like, you're just throwing out another thing and trying to create more chaos for yourself and blah 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 blah, and pushing me away and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, maybe instead of putzing on your phone at night, you could like look these words up. Just a thought. That way maybe you'd have a better understanding about it.
There's definitely lots of research out there about it.
Yeah, and then so she and I had this whole thing, and she looked up gender dysphoria and like look all the symptoms. She started going down the laundry list of symptoms. Like, do you want this? Do you feel this? Do you do that? And she was like, okay, so it was like a Maury Povich episode. Well, the results have come in, and you are not the father, except with her, it's like, the results are in, and you suffer from gender nonconformity. I'm like, okay, well, potato.
Right.
Like, honestly, like, if you want to split hair, I mean, maybe they're not exactly the same. I'm sure there are differences to it, but like, seriously, like, you really want to play the game where you're telling me what I feel, because that's not going to work out. But at the same time, like, it's a lot for a wife to take, and I have to be.
I can only imagine.
I have to be patient with her. I mean, and as far as I'm concerned, whether you believe that pansexuality is a real thing or not, that's not for anybody else to say. But if that's what you feel in your heart and feel in your bones, I think that then that's completely valid.
Right.
And
I find myself getting sucked into those threads on Facebook where somebody will post something and edit it out. And then it just turns into this argument about whether or not this condition exists.
Yeah.
Or the other day, there's a video that popped up on my timeline about Neil Patrick Harris and his husband and their 2 kids. And I was scrolling down, there's all these positive comments, and then all of a sudden this woman posts and she says, "I don't want to see this video." It's like, well, then nobody's holding a gun to your head forcing you to watch it.
Right.
If you don't want to see it, don't see it,
Yeah.
So then, of course, I'm scrolling down, I'm reading, and then I had to comment, and then, it's just like, okay, really, am I going to change some 80-year-old woman's mind?
Right, exactly. Oh,
she was probably in her late 60s, but her glasses were
they might as well be 80 at that point,
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom and Dad and everybody who's 60s, in their 60s. But no, I had this, it's the same feeling. Like I had a customer once, this is like my first year and a half, to say, "I'm tired of being Jude," and I was like,
Ooh.
it was like it literally felt like somebody, like an invisible slap against my face, you know what I mean? And I told my wife about it, and she's like, "You should have said something." And I was like, honestly, Amanda, me saying something isn't going to change probably what's 40 years of even 20 years of education of hatred. You know what I mean? Me saying something isn't going to change their be like, "Oh, I guess I never thought of it that way. I guess I'll change my life now."
Right.
And not be a hateful
piece
of shit.
Thanks for bringing that microaggression to my attention.
Yeah, like the other day, and then like a couple months ago, I had some woman who's like, "Do you have kids?" I bet and that's obviously a hot button issue.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to, and I actually spoke up a little bit. Like I offered her credit about something, and it wasn't a good enough credit for her, and she was just like, "Do you have children?" And I put her on hold, and I kind of like sent a message to my my boss at the time. It was still when we were in the center, so it was a few months ago.
Okay.
And I said to her, like, I'm taking the deal off the table. And she was like, you can't do that. She goes, if you already made the deal, you can't take it off the table. That's just, I mean, it sucks, but it is what it is, right? And so I came back and I said, okay, this is the deal. You can accept it or you can't. And she accepted it. And I said to her, I want to talk to you about something. You said something about asking if we had children, if I had children, and we, and you probably don't have children, that kind of thing. And I said, I want you to know that there are a lot of people out there that can't have children. I'm one of those people. And when you say something like that, maybe you should think twice before you say it, because it could really hurt somebody's feelings. And she was like, well, I was like, I know what I know, but I want you to know that those words can hurt people, because there are people out there that can't.
I want you to know that you're a raging bitch and you're a terrible human being.
That was the trend. that if there was like it was like what do you call it on Star Trek? Klingon. If like there was if monoliths speak for like you're a raging bitch, that's probably what it was. What if I could have been like, I'm gonna cut a bitch right now, like that's like, but yeah.
God, I don't miss those days, but when you talk about it,
yeah,
it
and I just
puts me right back.
I remember, like, oh man, I gave you so much shit about your anxiety. Like
I remember that.
Yeah, and you were pretty upset about that.
I was about ready to flip a table on you.
Yeah, so. I know. Like, I think, what were my exact words? I wish I could take time off, so I would,
yep.
And oh man, and that was probably in maybe my second year, first year and a half, second year, and I was like all cocky and fancy free, and you were just like,
before this soul crushing reality of what the company is about really set in.
Yeah, so, sure. I plead. I say nothing. But yeah, and pretty much after you left, I think that's when my anxiety started happening. And like, I think at one point, didn't I come up to you and say, I'm really sorry, I should have said that to you. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's pretty much, like it's a hard job. There's no two ways about it. I mean, and there are days where it's easy, sometimes, few and far between. And then there are days where you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm on the beach of Normandy. Right. I feel like the Tom Hanks character in Saving Private Ryan, where everything's just quiet and all this carnage is going on around me, and it's like, but yeah, I mean, and now they're bringing, they're changing. Remember when we did surveys and then 8, 9, 10 was a pass, right?
Yeah. Now
they're going back to the numbers, and now if you get anything below a 9, it's a fail.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
okay.
it's and it's. I'm just like, are you kidding me? If anybody gives me an 8 in anything, like I'd be like, yay, 8.
Right.
Like if a movie got 8 stars out of 10, that'd be like critical acclaim. So you're telling me that like if I get an 8, like you're seriously gonna like fail me? That's like a B plus at least. Like I in my opinion, but like again, I don't make the rules, and I just won't. I probably shouldn't be talking.
Yeah. Probably
post production.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, so you're going to South Dakota.
I am.
And is that to see your family, right?
Yeah.
Did you get any big plans?
So from there, we're going to drive to Nebraska, where my sister's living.
Where in Nebraska?
I don't know, little town, comparatively. A town called Norfolk.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know Norfolk. I mean, I don't think I've ever been there, but...
I guess as they say it, Norfolk.
Norfolk, yeah.
There's not a second R. It's like New Prague here.
Oh, God.
It's New Prague.
So basically, you pass by it, and there's like a sign you pass by, you've missed it, basically, or...
My hometown?
No, Norfolk.
Oh. It's bigger-ish, I guess. They have a Walmart there, so...
Okay. That's... I've kind of...
So I grew up in a town that at the time was 300 people. It's probably only 200 people, if that, now.
Oh, wow.
And
they've all died then.
So...
Was there like a nursing home at some point, and they all just like they closed it
just
down and
moves
because
away.
everybody died or something?
Everybody just moves away. It's a farming community, and
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Keeping that in the family business it doesn't really happen much anymore. So, but so for me to say a small town, it's
all relative.
But I mean, I've traveled. I've lived in Portland, Oregon.
Oh wow!
So
you probably like the show Portlandia then, huh?
I do. I love it. It's amazing.
I did too. I tried getting Amanda to watch it, and she was just like, I don't get it, and she didn't like it, and I was like,
you got to live there. I mean,
I think maybe you do. I mean, there's some things that I just didn't quite get, but like knowing everything that people that have come from Portland, I get it now, but I've never myself lived there. But I just like what's his name, the lead actor on the show.
I'm terrible at actors' names.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
I know Carrie Brownstein and what's his name? I forget it. Anyway. Anyway, but
I'll remember it while I'm driving out of town. I remember his name.
You know what? I'm gonna look it up real quickly because actually
sometimes I have to do that too. Otherwise, it just sits there and nags in the corner of my mind.
We're gonna look it up here real quickly.
Sounds good. But anyway, what I was saying is when I say small town, it varies about what that means depending on who I'm talking to. So
Portlandia. Fred Armisen.
Okay. Yep.
Oh my God, that was gonna kill me, Richard. That honestly, the whole day that was. If I didn't look, I mean, I'm sure I would have looked it up after you left, but there's. I'm glad. Thank you for filling in the quiet time while I was looking for it. But that sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, and Nebraska, always solid. I'm originally from Omaha, so I mean, but it's just so weird because we live in Mankato, right?
Yeah.
And I've gotten so used to no rush hour and no traffic for the most part in Mankato. You know what I mean? And so we get to Nebraska or Omaha, and we're just like, what kind of fucking metropolis is this? And it's Omaha, so it's not like it's like New York or anything like that. But there's just so much more traffic and so much more shit going on at once. When you're in Omaha once you get there, you know what I mean? Versus I used to just be able to cruise the streets of Omaha and no problem. And now whenever it's time, we have to take a drive somewhere in the city, to pick up takeout because my parents don't go out anymore for anything. So I'm just I get freaked out because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more traffic here than there is in Mankato. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's one of the reasons I got a new quote unquote new car, because honestly, last year I took a solo trip to Omaha without Amanda, and it was for me going back home, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me it has very healing factors to it. It's if you know, it rejuvenates me, because I'm going back to my roots. I'm seeing friends that I haven't, that I grew up with or haven't seen for a while. Do you get that feeling when you go back to home, or are you just oh great, fucking mom and dad?
No, I love seeing my parents now. In active addiction, it was God, I gotta go spend time with my family. I can't get high, and then I was coming down the entire weekend, and it was probably a real joy to be around, I'm sure. But if I was awake, but I look forward to going home. I was supposed to go home 2 weeks ago, and then it snowed, and I didn't feel like driving in a blizzard. I'm making better choices today than I was about 6 years ago.
You don't say.
Yeah, weird how that works. So anyway, here's the thing. I bitch and moan about my parents, but honestly, I do love them, and I it's really weird because I was a mama's boy for a really long time, and then after a certain point, my dad and I our personalities. I think I grew. He didn't, because he would be out of town a lot of the time, so it'd be just my mom and I. So naturally, I would just gravitate toward my mom, and I'd be a mama's boy. But now I'm more I'll talk to my dad multiple times a day, or multiple times a week, and when
my mom and I are on the phone, I'm just like, yeah, can you put, yeah, I'm done. Put that on. And then like Amanda's just like, but yet Amanda doesn't really know how to talk to my dad because like my dad is like, my wife is very open-minded and very about most things, and just very like, my dad's very East Coast cynical, kind of like Massachusetts, kind of like just that kind of cynical East Coaster attitude, and my wife is very much like open-minded Minnesota nice, so I don't think their personalities mesh very well, but like they love each other, but like yeah, but I can only handle my mom for a certain period of time, and then I'm just like, okay, put that on right now, just put them on, but yeah, but I'm glad. I mean that's so amazing that you've gone from just you've come so far. I mean and I won't get emotional. I promise I won't.
Feel free to cry.
Not okay. Today. I won't cry. But I mean, you've come so far, and I mean, I may not have been like instrumental in your journey, but I'm glad I've been part of your journey.
You definitely helped me get started down the path of sponsorship and meetings and stuff.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad. I am so glad that I've been part of your journey. And if you have, I mean, obviously, you probably charge by the hour now, but I mean, if you have any, obviously you got to get going here soon. But I mean, do you have any like final thoughts for people who are just on the fence about recovery or just struggling? I mean, just something unique, something. Don't be like just one day at a time, like me. Don't be.
Well, there is certainly wisdom in that. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Some of my most miserable time in recovery was when I was trying to make the decision not to ever use again. Yeah, like that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. So, yeah.
But I don't know. I guess what I found out is that any hopes that I had when I first got clean don't compare at all to the reality of what I've been able to achieve in recovery in a very, very good way. Okay. When I first got clean, it was, my life was in a shambles. It was just, life was a mess, and the only thing that I could think of was, I'm just going to go to treatment so that my sister stops bitching at me and so that she stops threatening to kick me out of her apartment. And that was really my goal. Yeah. And so never did I dream that I was going to become a substance abuse counselor and do that. So it's been, I guess, don't sell yourself short for what you can accomplish in life. And, aside from the cliches that are there for a reason, I would say that's probably one of the biggest things is just don't sell yourself short. You never know what you can accomplish once you get rid of the drugs and alcohol or whatever else it is. Cake, sex, So, but yeah.
And that, of course, and is my, that, my friends, was Richard Pepper. Obviously, he's been through so much, and he's some of the stuff that he goes through, he still has to live with, with being the HIV positive. And, he's just, I am so proud of him. Like, I am so happy that I have this person in my life. He's just a true inspiration. And the cliche, like you said, the cliches are there for a reason. I say I always incorporate one day at a time, but it's very much the truth. Sometimes it can be living one day at a time isn't always easy because because you never know what's going to be the next day, and it could be just as shitty as the day before, or it could be just as great as the day before. I remember one day, this is kind of off. I normally don't, we usually close shop at this point, but I remember I had a birthday. It was like my 11th birthday or 12th birthday. I don't remember. But the night before my birthday, my parents were just screaming at me, like just totally angry at me about something, just absolutely crazy angry at me. And then on my birthday, like it was just a complete 180. Like everything it was like the happiest day ever. Like I felt like I was in Candyland or something like that, like everything was just wonderful and amazing, and it was my birthday, and yay, happy birthday. And then the next day, it was just like my birthday never happened, and it was like they'd put somebody had, like, God had put like a pause button on their anger, and like it, and then the day after, my birthday, it just went, he hit, all right, time to hit play again, or hit the record button, and it just kind of went back to where it was, where they were angry at me again. So it was just this very surreal experience where it was just like one day angry, one day completely like happy and joyful, and praising me and just being, oh, what a wonderful son you are, and then the next day being like, you fucking are terrible, we're sending you to Boys Town, because that was, again, as I mentioned, like the go-to punishment for me. But anyway, yes, you gotta, recovery's not easy, it can, the whole, everything could fall apart at any given point if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, which is, whether you're working the steps or talking to somebody, you got a life coach, a sensei, or a sponsor or whatever. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to do the work. You got to want it. Life may be shitty for a while, even because life doesn't stop. It's like it doesn't stop for anybody. And so you just got to play things as they lay, as I've said. And as usual, you got to do it one day at a time.
Neurotics.